Hello everyone, my name is Scalti, and today we're going to be going over the creation of a factory producing 120 concrete per minute. I hope you enjoy. Alright, before we get the build started, let's go over a couple of the details about this factory in specific. There are a couple of different approaches in building this concrete factory. If you're going to be building this in the early game, you can run it at 50% efficiency, and then once you unlock Mark III logistics, you can bring everything up to 100%, and I would recommend for the early game just running it at 50% efficiency and eventually upgrading it when you are able to. With the power draw of the factory, assuming that you have the Mark III logistics available to you, utilizing Mark I miners, the minimum power draw will be 62.3 megawatts, and if you have the Mark II miners available to you, the power draw will be 56. Not too much of a difference, but those are the discrepancies in between. In terms of the actual structures you're going to need to build the factory, you're going to need either 2 Mark I miners or 2 Mark II miners, and then 8 constructors. In this example here, I'm using a Mark II miner on a pure node and also a normal node, giving us 360 limestone per minute. The location for the factory is located in the northern forest, surrounded by several pure nodes. This is a great starting area if you have not tried starting here yet. And the footprint of the factory will ultimately be 5 by 6. In this example, you can see that the miner section is joined for a 5 by 7, but the actual footprint of the constructors themselves will be a 3 by 4 area. In terms of how we have our limestone coming into the structure, on the short wall here behind this wall, we have a Mark II miner on a normal limestone node. That's bringing in 120 on this belt here. And then over here on this conveyor wall, we have 240 being routed from this Mark II miner on a pure limestone node, giving us the 240. And so the way we're going to be placing our constructors is we have these 4 foundations on the long edge. And for those 4 foundations, we want to put in our conveyor wall. I'm going to put in 4 on each side, like so. And for those unaware, I'm using the Smart mod for Satisfactory, and it's pretty great. It allows you to place multiple walls, foundations, structures, even mergers and splitters with one fell swoop. It's a pretty great quality of life mod, as it still uses the resources, so you're not cheating yourself out of the material cost, but it's just a nice time saver. I'll have a link to the mod in the description down below. Anyway, continuing on, we have a conveyor wall over here on the short side of our structure, and that's going to be essentially where our storage container is and where we will retrieve our final concrete from the factory. So above that, I'm going to put a wall conveyor in place. A normal wall over here, and I would put one here, but we want to make sure that we have the ability to get down below into the subfloor. On top of here, in between all of these walls, we are going to place in our 8x1 foundations. And then on top of these foundations, wherever we have the conveyor wall, we are going to place our constructors. And when placing these, you want to make sure that they're hanging off the edge by just a little bit, these little feet here. So that way when we go to place a lift, you can hear the beep. That means that the lifts are connecting to the conveyor wall below, and it does not require any additional belt work. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these in place real quick. And so heading down below. So essentially the recipe for the concrete is 45 limestone per minute to make 15 concrete. And so we have our 4 constructors, and that means that we need 180 limestone divvied up amongst each 4. So we have our 240 coming in here, our 120 coming in here. What we need to do is take 60 limestone from this line of 240 and bring it over to our line of 120, giving us 120 plus 60 is 180, and 240 minus 60 is 180. Before we get all of that taken care of, let's go ahead and get our splitters in place for the constructors. And so in between each pair on either side, I'm going to place a splitter here. And in this instance, I'm going to have the splitter's input in the area or in the direction of where the 240 is coming in. And these splitters are essentially in line with the foundation line here. So that way when we want to connect it up to our lifts into the constructors, we can just go ahead and place a lift on each one, and you can hear the beep, which means it's snapping, and everything will work nicely. Where we have the 240 coming in, we will place a splitter in front of that. And we'll go ahead and bring our Mark III belt into another splitter here, in line with the first. And then some Mark II belts leading into each respective splitter. Whoop. Just like that. And then on the opposite side, again, same thing. We'll go ahead and take our splitters, and where we have the 120, we'll go ahead and pretty much do it up the exact same way. And then here we will have our splitter once again. And then for here we'll have our merger facing off toward the long edge where the splitter over here is. Now we can get these connected up. Bringing our Mark III off. That takes care of all of the load balancing down here. So we can go ahead and head out the top. Get this closed off. And then for the limestone, since we're only making $120 per minute, we can get all of this onto a Mark II belt. And so what we do is just take our mergers in between each of the constructors and head them off toward the short end where we have the conveyor wall. And so to min-max the belt speed, so essentially we have 15 and 15, so that gives us 30 on this belt here, plus another 15 and 15 gives us 60. So we can use another Mark I. And then for the last four, we'll step up to a Mark II. Then a Mark II here. And then a Mark II headed down. And now we can go ahead and get our storage in place. So for that, we'll just go ahead and take a normal storage container. If I can find it here on my hotbars. There we go. And we want this essentially as close to the wall as we can get it. Leaving this little gap here. And then in between, we can go ahead and just place a Mark I belt. Any belt speed is okay. We just want a belt so that way the items, when they go into the actual container, they will feed onto the belt. So that way from the outside, it tells us exactly what the items are. So where we have the items coming down, we essentially just want to take a belt leading out of here. Get our lift in place in line with the lift here. And connect it up. Oh, this will be a Mark II and a Mark II and a Mark II. So it's Mark II all the way down into the storage container. We can go ahead and head to the outside now finally and get this all closed up. And so effectively, that is build complete. Very simple, easy, straightforward. So all we need to do is put some glass on the outside, run some power, and call it a day. So with that, I'll see you guys on the other side. Alright, that'll wrap up our guide. I hope you found some value in the tutorial. If you did, feel free to leave a like. It does help out the channel. If you want to see more content in the future, be sure to subscribe if you're not already. And if you have any questions about the build, leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Additionally, I'm excited to announce that I will be streaming over on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern every Thursday, where I'll be playing through the game normally, popping into creative mode, designing new factories that you'll see in guide format here, and it's a good opportunity to just kick back, relax, talk about the game, and have some fun. But with that, thank you again for watching, take care, and I hope to see you there.